Hello beautiful people, my name is Diana. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, I thought it would be fun to do a book recommendations on a whole bunch of different genres that I like to read. So I want to keep it pretty simple. I'm not going to go into detail about these books. I'm just going to tell you the book, tell you kind of why I liked it. So yeah, let's get right into today's video. Okay, so for the first genre, I think I'm going to do romance, but more specifically open door romances. So this is romance that have a little bit of spice in them. So the first series that I'm actually going to recommend you guys is the Knock 'Em Out series by Lucy Score. I absolutely love this series. I read both of these books. The third one is on my TBR for this month, so I'm really excited to get into it. But these are super cute, and they also have like a mystery aspect. So if you like some plot in your romance and like a mystery, then these are definitely for you. I love her writing. I love these characters, and I feel like these books are super easy to visualize. Like I can picture everything that's going on, and I fell in love with the characters. So I'm super excited to read the third one this month. Next, we have a series that honestly I don't see at all on like BookTube and Bookstagram and stuff like that, and that is the Playing for Keeps series by Monica Murphy. I'm pretty sure it's Playing for Keeps, but they are playing hard to get, playing by the rules, playing to win. And I got the first one gifted to me by Valentine PR, and honestly I didn't hear too much about it. I didn't really know anything about it, and then I decided I was like, I'm gonna read it. It was the beginning of football season. I was in the mood for a football romance, and this book was amazing. She's the tutor and he's like the star football player, and she's like shy and he's popular, and it was just amazing. I fell in love with it, and then I read the next two the same month and I loved them too. This one was definitely my favorite, but honestly I still really enjoyed these, and I loved all the characters in the book, and it was a huge surprise because I don't see them around too much. Next, we have a book that I can guarantee you've probably seen around someplace, and that is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This is probably like my favorite romance of all time. I loved this book so much. It is such a beautiful story, and honestly going blind to it. I went in pretty blind. I didn't know too much. I knew it was a little bit emotional, but besides that I didn't know anything, and I think that is the way to do it because it ended up being like one of my favorite books, and it was just such an amazing and beautiful journey. And if you like a little bit of emotion in your reads, this one is definitely for you, and I just fell in love with it. It is a little bit like more spicy than I thought it was gonna be, so if you don't like too much spice in your books, then you could probably look up somewhere to like skip those chapters in this book, but I still think that this book is worth the read because it is absolutely amazing. Okay, next is a book that I feel like people either love it or they're not the biggest fan of it, and that is Say You Swear by Megan Brady. I loved this book. I loved it. It made me bawl my eyes out, and it's another fun book, I thought, because it takes place like in college, and it's like it follows a friend group, but then like it focuses in on like the two main characters and their romance, and it just has emotion to it, but at the same time it was such a fun book. Like I was laughing, I was enjoying like the drama of like the college life and like their friend group, but then the romance was so amazing, and Noah Riley is unmatched in my opinion. Probably like the best book boyfriend ever. So that's why I recommend this one. If you want to meet your next book boyfriend, Noah Riley, because so amazing. Okay, the last open door romance that I have is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I loved this book, and it was such a surprise to me because going in I was like, I was kind of scared it was going to be weird just because like the whole concept where like she's a ghostwriter but she can see ghosts. I was like, I didn't know what to think about it. It was so good. It was such a good story, and it made one of my top romances for last year. And I recommend it to everyone because I just thought it was so amazing. It's a pretty quick read too, and I would recommend to read this like around spooky season. It just felt like a fall read to me. Even the cover looks like it's like fall. And if you're looking for something totally different, totally unlike any other romance, I would 100% recommend this one because it's another beautiful story that I loved so much. So the next genre we're going to be covering is again romance, but this time it's going to be closed door / like YA romances. So the first closed door romances I'm gonna recommend you guys is anything by Christine Joy. I absolutely love her writing and her books are just so cute. So this is a series right here. This is her newer one, which is My Forbidden Billionaire, which is my personal favorite, and then is her newest one, and that's My Secret Celebrity. And this cover, I'm so obsessed with it. I cannot wait to read this one. So yeah, she writes really cute, like swoon-worthy, kind of like they feel like a Hallmark movie. And I love that vibe. Sometimes I'm just in the mood to like cuddle up with a book and read something that's super cute and fluffy, and that's what her books are, and I absolutely love them. So if you're looking for a closed door romance author, I would 100% recommend Christine Joy because her books are just, they feel like a warm hug, honestly. Alright, now I'm gonna recommend a YA series that does have some romance in it, and you've all probably heard of it, but that is the Summer I Turned Pretty series. Personally, it's not my favorite series in the whole world, but a lot of people love it, and it is just like a fun summer read, and I love these covers. I think that they are just so cute and pretty. And now there's a show out for it too. If you like reading books and then watching a show, totally recommend these. If you're someone who is like maybe in high school or going into high school, I would definitely recommend these. Now I'm gonna recommend you guys my favorite closed door romance author, and that is Sarah Adams. I absolutely love her books. The Cheat Sheet is my personal fave. I still have to read Practice Makes Perfect, but she does have a book coming out. It's called The Rule Book, I'm pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure that one is open door. So just be careful if you like reading only closed door romances. Her new one I don't think is going to be closed door. When in Rome and The Cheat Sheet are just so cute. They literally feel like a Hallmark movie, but also like she knows how to write tension where you're still connected with the characters and you still feel like there's like something there. It's not just like a one-dimensional relationship. Like she definitely like builds it around it so you're still attached to the characters and like you care about the romance stuff. Next, on a little YA closed door romance, I got The Upside of Falling by Alex Light. This is actually like published by Wattpad, which I thought was funny. I read it and I absolutely loved it. It was just like such a cute and fun read, and it's one of those books where you get so like wrapped up in the story, even though like it's literally just like high school drama and stuff, but I loved it. If you want like something super quick and light and like high school drama, it was one of those books that you like enjoy, and like I can picture myself reading it, and it was just like a good time. Like I had a really good time with this book, so I do recommend this one a lot. Alright, now we have one of my favorite YA books of all time, and that is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This book is literally perfect. I love this book so much. This book is a warm hug. Like, it is just perfect. It's a rom-com. It is so cute. I was laughing. I love Wes. He's the guy in this book, obsessed with him. They have another book coming out and I cannot wait for it. This one just met all my expectations, and it was another book where I just had such a good time reading it that like it's just like a core memory for me. I wanted to keep reading it. I was enjoying every second of it. It made me laugh, and it's just like a high school drama, but like in the best way. I loved it so much. Liz reminded me of me because she's such a spaz, and that's kind of how I am. So I loved every second of this book. Now I'm gonna recommend you guys some like adult thrillers. These are, I don't read too many thrillers, but these are definitely some that stand out to me and that I still think about now. So the first one is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This book is so messed up. Please don't go into it expecting that you're gonna be like laughing the whole time, because I was scarred. It's definitely like a lot. This book is a lot, and I still think about it to this day because it's one of those books that keep you guessing throughout the whole thing and even after it. So yeah, it's scarring, so look up trigger warnings and stuff because it is a lot. But also, if you like really twisted, messed up books, this is for you. Next is a book that honestly I don't see anywhere, and that is Hidden Pictures by Jason. I'm not even gonna try to say his last name, but Hidden Pictures. So I read this book because I actually saw people talking about it on Facebook a lot, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I loved it. It made me cry, which, I mean, it's a thriller. I was kind of surprised that I was like sobbing at the end. Going completely blind. I'm not gonna say anything about it because it's just one of those books where if you go in blind, it's so much better. If you're looking for a thriller that like no one talks about too much, This one was amazing, and I honestly want to reread it this year around like Halloween because it definitely has like a spooky vibe to it. And there is a little bit of like paranormal stuff in here too. Not a lot where it seems like super unrealistic, but it does have that aspect as well. The last thriller I'm going to recommend you guys is The It Girl by Ruth Ware. I loved this book. I read it last year around Halloween time, and it's basically one of those books that jump between past and present, and a lot of it take place on like Oxford, the college campus, and I loved it. I felt like it was so fun in a way because you follow like this friend group in the past before one of the girls is found dead, and it's just like you get the drama of that friend group in the past and then the murder aspect in the present, and I loved it. I would recommend this one on audio. I feel like if you read it, it might get a little bit boring, but the audiobook felt so real to me and I literally could not stop listening to it. Now I'm gonna recommend some YA like mystery series that I have read. These like are kind of thriller mystery mixed together, but these are all like YA. The first one is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy by Holly Jackson. The first one is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, then Good Girl, Bad Blood, and then As Good as Dead. This series was such a fun, wild ride, and I love her writing. I recommend her in general as like a YA mystery author because all her books are just so fun and so easy to listen to. Usually I do her on audio. Amazing series. She's in high school. She does a project about a girl who went missing, and she basically starts finding out all this stuff, and it keeps unraveling, and it was just amazing. And they're making it a show. So again, if you like reading books that become shows, totally recommend. Next, I'm gonna recommend the Inheritance Games trilogy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This one is personally not one of my favorite series ever, but I still recommend it because I feel like it is such a fun series for like YA mystery. There's a lot of riddles in here. You follow this group of like 4 friends, and basically this girl inherits all this money and she has no idea why, so it's kind of like figuring out why she's inheriting this guy's money, what's going on, and there's a lot of riddles to solve and like puzzles, and it is really fun if you're looking for just like something easy to listen to and like not too heavy and stuff. I would totally recommend the Inheritance Games trilogy. Next is also a series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and that is the Natural series. And there's 4 books in this series and 1 novella, which my copy of the last book actually has like the novella in it, which I thought was cool. But I just recently read the series at the beginning of this year. I absolutely loved it. It's a 4-star series overall for me. The last one kind of lost me a little bit, but I know for a lot of people that's their favorite, so I still totally recommend it. Basically, it's about this group of like teenagers who are put in this naturals program because they have like special gifts. Either they can like read people's minds or tell the future or stuff like that, and they're put in this group to work for the FBI and solve cold cases and ongoing cases. And it was so good. It literally felt like Criminal Minds in books. So if that's up your alley, then you would love these books. Next, we're gonna dive into the young adult fantasy genre, which honestly, before making this video, I didn't realize how many fantasies that I read that fall into this genre instead of adult fantasy. The first one is the Shatter Me series by Tara Mafi. This is like the perfect series if you just want to get into fantasy but you don't know where to start. It's dystopian. It definitely has like some Hunger Games vibes to it. It's also like decently heavy on the romance, I would say. So if you like fantasy with like romance and high stakes, then this is definitely for you. I think it is the perfect series to start if you are just wanting to get into fantasy and the world building isn't too crazy and it's pretty easy to understand. The characters are introduced slowly, and I loved it. Okay, next series is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I loved these books so much. This is another series where if you're newer to fantasy, I think this is a pretty good one to start with too. There is a little bit more of like a heavy world building in here. Not like anything crazy, but there is a map, there is some more characters, there's like different places that they go to. So it definitely has a little bit more than like Shatter Me, I would say. But Carden, no words. Literally no words. He was probably my first real like book boyfriend that I was obsessed with, so these have a very special place in my heart. There's not as much romance in them, where they kind of, I feel like some people think that they're super heavy on the romance. It's not. Romance is definitely like a subplot, but also it's so good. I loved how it wrapped up. I love these characters. I still think about them all the time. And I still think that this is a great series if you want to get into fantasy. Next, I have another YA fantasy series, and that is the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. So this is more like vampires, werewolves. Like if you like the Vampire Diaries, you'll love this series. And I read the first 4 and then I stopped because new ones were coming out and I never went back to it. So this is a series that I definitely want to go back into and reread because I loved the characters, and it takes place at a school, which I love. I just love like the school atmosphere with like all the characters and the drama and stuff. And this is literally what this is. It's like a vampire drama. It was such a fun series to listen to, and definitely I would recommend this one starting off too because it is nothing like crazy to follow along with. It's pretty easy. They are just pretty thick books, and I think there's 6 of them in all, but I still recommend it because they're super fun. Next is probably one of my top favorite YA fantasies, and that is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I read this at the beginning of the year and I fell in love with it. The words that this man says in this book are like, oh my god, so good. This definitely has some like Hunger Games vibes to it too. She basically has no powers, and anyone who doesn't have powers gets killed, so she's like kind of hiding herself, and she gets thrown into this tournament with all these people who do have powers, and it's just so good. I totally recommend it. Next, I'm going to recommend Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and these editions are so beautiful. I have not read Ruthless Vows yet, so I'm not going to talk about that one. This book was just so beautiful, and I would honestly recommend going in blind, but there's letters that get passed back and forth, and just like I said, the writing is so beautiful, and I cannot wait to read the next one because how this one ended, I'm honestly terrified to read the next one. I saved the best for last as far as YA fantasy recommendations go. And that's Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I know, I have to bring it up every video at least once. You guys know me by now, but the best series of all time, the best characters of all time, the best storyline of all time, the best plot of all time. Do you need anything else? Just read this book. That's literally it. I absolutely love this series, and it has all the emotion. You will cry. I cried probably like 30 times or more. I was a hot mess reading this, but I felt so connected with the characters, and it's such a beautiful series. Go in blind to it and just read the romantic order, do the tandem read, and you will not regret it. It's so amazing. And honestly, it's one of those series where each book gets better and better and better. So like if you didn't love the first one, I still tell everyone like keep reading because it does just get better. The characters are my best friends, and I'll never get over this series, and nothing will ever pass it up in my eyes. This is my Roman Empire. Next, we're gonna talk about some more adult fantasy. So these definitely have like a little bit more spice in them and stuff like that. So the first series, which I know you guys have heard about or probably read already, and that's the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. I love these books with all my heart. Anything she writes is just amazing. And this series was one of those where if you're new to fantasy, I would still recommend this series if you want something like more adult with some romance in it. I would recommend this series. There is like a little bit more world building. There's quite a few characters, but I feel like the way it's introduced is so easy to follow, and the map is super easy. Like there's nothing like super crazy name wise, and it's just one of those books you get so lost in. And this is like a series that made me fall in love with reading. So I will always be thankful to this series that just made me like realize how much I love not only reading, but like the fantasy genre with a little bit of romance is like unmatched in my opinion. I totally recommend Sarah J. Maas. If you want to start fantasy, start with her because honestly, once you read her, nothing else compares. Okay, another adult fantasy is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I just recently read these, and there's a third one. I just don't have the soft cover of it, so I'm just gonna show the first two. I recently read these, and I will say at first it was kind of a shock because it's so different than her other books, so I was like struggling a little bit, but once I got into it, I absolutely love it, and she's just such a genius with her writing, and you get so attached to her characters, and that's how these books were for me too. I ended up absolutely loving them, and the third one did not disappoint. Even though some people didn't like it as much, I really enjoyed it. This is urban, so this is like today's world, texting, internet, so it's really different, but it's also super cool, and it's definitely like the crudest of her books. There's quite a bit of spice in the second one, not so much in the first one, but like there's swearing, there's drugs, so like it's definitely like more modern, I guess. That's the closest thing to it. It's definitely like her most modern fantasy, but I loved these two. Last, I'm just gonna talk about like some general fiction books. The first one is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. This is probably more like historical fiction, I guess, but this is one of my favorite books of all time. It got me into reading. It is such a beautiful story. It's told during World War II from the perspective of death, and it's so emotional, it's so heartbreaking, but also so beautiful, and I can't wait to reread it this year and annotate it, and I totally recommend this book to everyone because it's one of those books that make you realize how powerful reading is, and that's what it did to me, and I think about it all the time. It's such a beautiful book, and it is like a haunting book too. I mean, it's told by death. So next is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by, I'm not even trying to pronounce that. So there's, I think, 4 of these actually. I've just read the first one, and they're like little stories told from like this coffee shop where if you like drink the coffee, you can go back in time and either see someone you loved or stuff like that, and it's like little short stories in here, and they absolutely broke my heart, but like in the best way possible. This book made me realize like how much we take life for granted and people for granted, and how stuff can change so quickly, and how we should like enjoy life from the day to day because it can all change so quick. And this is just, I totally recommend it. Next is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I read this one almost 2 years ago, so it is kind of like faint in my memory, but I remember just the message hitting so close to home. Basically, this book is about a lady who wants to die. She's so unhappy with her life, and she finds this library, and basically each book is like if she made one decision differently in her life, how her life would turn out. And she like watches her life like replay before her eyes with these different decisions and how stuff would have been affected, and just the overall message was so deep and amazing. And I just think everyone should read this book because we all go through that point where we feel like our life is a mess and stuff isn't working out like how we wanted it to, and I think this is a book that just makes you realize like you're exactly where you need to be. Next, we have another book that is amazing. I think about it all the time, and that's Anxious People by Frederick Backman. I totally recommend this book. It is so amazing. Basically, a bank robber stumbles into this apartment viewing, and these people get trapped in there, and they kind of all start sharing their stories, and they get to know each other, and they realize that like their lives are more connected than they thought, and how everyone's struggling differently, even though on the outside we all look okay. And it's such a beautiful story, especially if you struggle with like anxiety, depression, stuff like that. This book just hit so close to home for me, and I was sobbing, and it's such a beautiful story, and he writes so beautifully, so I totally recommend this book, and the audiobook was really good too. Alright, last book. I didn't really know where to put this one genre-wise, so I just put it here, and that's Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I just listened to this one. Audiobook was amazing. I talked about it a lot in my February wrap-up. I loved this book so much. It felt so real. The characters felt so real. It basically is an interview style of like a rock band, and it's like interviewing them, talking about like how they came to be together, what finally made them fall apart. It was just a huge pleasant surprise for me, and I totally recommend this book. It was so amazing. So yeah, that is it. That's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you were able to find some different book recommendations for different genres. And yeah, if you liked this video, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I am posting every Friday, and I'm super excited about all the support I've been getting, and you guys have just been so kind to me, and I love posting on here. I look forward to it every week. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye!